Coming up tonight on NSEN, find out what MTSU football needs to do to get back on the right track against FAU this week.
The top high school teams in the state clashed this week. See who came out on top.
And Brent Stockstill is regarded as one of, if not the best quarterback the Blue Raiders have ever had. Find out how his high school beginnings led him to the QB he is today.
All those stories and more. NSEN starts right now.
Next on NSEN.
Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Jonas H. Along with me, Kaitlyn Runyon. She's actually getting ready for her first sportscast. Hate to put you on the spot like that, but how you feeling?
I'm just happy to be here, Jonas. I feel great, and I'm just ready to get the show on the road.
As we all are. Well, don't worry. You'll only be talking about the one thing we all love, and that's sports. And speaking of that, MTSU is getting ready for their home matchup against the Owls of Florida Atlantic. But before that, Kaitlyn, why don't you talk about Florida Atlantic and what they've had to go through so far?
Well, FAU hasn't had the easiest non-conference schedule, already playing two ranked opponents this season. One was against Oklahoma, ranked 6th in the nation at the time, and they got spanked 63-14. The other being the team they played just last week, the University of Central Florida, the 16th ranked team and defending national champions.
Yeah, Bama fans will probably have something to say about that.
You're probably right, but either way, it was going to be a tough challenge for the Owls, and it didn't look good starting out.
Yeah, FAU was down 14-0 quick going into the game. And here you can see right here on the left side, they were already getting pummeled down here right on the left side, trying to get through the big holes. And plays like that really hindered the Atlantic Owls as through the right side, scrambling out, finding pay dirt early on, making it a quick 7-0 with 12 minutes in the first. That didn't stop there, however, as immediately after that, going out with only 8 minutes, finally getting the ball back quick, right up the middle, 14-0. The game would continue like this. Florida Atlantic tried to get something going right here to Devin Singletary. We'll hear his name a lot throughout the season, especially in Conference USA. Another one right up here to get back tied 14-all. This man was a beast the whole game. 21-17 in the third. UCF strikes back to get within a double-digit lead. UCF already trying to just break through on this one, but not without a little help from the Atlantic offense who gets through here, making it 24-35. However, it wouldn't be enough to stop the Knights, who are trying to go back-to-back undefeated seasons and repeat as national champions.
This Saturday is MTSU's blackout game here at home as the Blue Raiders face the Owls from FAU. The Blue Raiders have seen two SEC teams already and defeated UT Martin. Here's how Coach Rick Stockstill has viewed the team's first 4 weeks.
Told them, last week when we got back, that in the big scheme of things, the grand scheme of things, these first 3 games, really didn't mean anything. They don't count other than towards bowl eligibility. This is when it starts, conference play. This is, the goals that you have out there that now, this is where it starts, and conference play, and this is the first one for both of us. A couple other teams have already played a couple conference games, so this is where it starts. So it would be nice to get off to a good start, and as we start conference play. But to me, this is, you don't want to say preseason like the NFL does, but these are the ones that carry a bunch of weight.
What we do know going into this week is that they are the reigning conference champions and that the Owls have playmakers on both sides of the football. There is one player, however, who stands out above the rest. Hear what Coach Stockstill has to say about the FAU running back, Devin Singletary.
The best last year, he was the best. He was either Conference Player of the Year or Offensive Player of the Year. He's the best right now. And he's leading the nation in scoring. He's leading the nation in touchdowns. He was third all time in the history of college football for the most touchdowns in a season last year. think he had 33, you know, behind Barry Sanders and somebody else. So you don't score that many touchdowns if you're not very good. And so he's, the last 2 years or last year and a half, you know, he's been the best running back in this conference.
Lastly, there is always talk about FAU coach Lane Kiffin. No matter where he is, he always grabs headlines. Here's what Coach Stock had to say about facing Kiffin for the second time.
What has Coach Kiffin kind of done to kind of bring kind of more of a national spotlight at Conference USA? And what do you think of Old Dominion's win over Virginia Tech as well?
I don't know. I don't know what Coach Kiffin's. I mean, he's done a great job at FAU. You know, so a lot of respect for him as a football coach. He's done a good job. They've got a good football team last year, and they got a good football team this year. And
the game is this Saturday night at home at 6 o'clock. Should be an exciting game.
Now, the rest of conference has had more than their fair share of drama, starting with the upset heard around the world. That's right, Old Dominion, who went into the Virginia Tech game 0-3 and averaging a little over 18 points per game, dropped 49 on the Hokies to beat them for their first win of the season. Monarchs quarterback Blake LaRussa went 30 for 49 for 495 yards and 4 touchdowns. And for their valiant effort, ODU was awarded being the National Team of the Week. But they weren't the only ones who took on a top 25 opponent, with Florida International playing the U of Miami, losing that one 31-17. FIU only had 17 rushing yards compared to Miami's absurd 248. But hey, the Panthers did beat Old Dominion in Week 2 earlier in the season, 28-20, so they've got that going for them. Louisiana Tech was the other team to play a top 25 opponent in LSU, where they also lost with the score being 38-21. Now, coming up next on NSEN, a lot of action for Conference USA that week, but even more for high school football, where Oakland and Blackman went head-to-head this week.
That's right. And stay tuned for a report on Brent Stockstill, MTSU's leading passer, on his journey from high school to college and his future.
Your remote control should remain untouched as NSEN. We'll be right back.
Dear humans, this is an adoption campaign, but it's not for me, or Mr. Buttons, or Frank over there. It's for you, humans. This is a call to humans to adopt our movement, to adopt our cause.
This isn't just about saving one of us.
It's about saving all of us.
Nearly 4,100 lives every single day.
It's about support for every one of us four, and sometimes not four-legged best friends waiting to meet a best friend of our own. With Best Friends Animal Society leading the charge.
Shelter by shelter, city by city.
We can make this entire country no-kill.
Join us.
Together we can save them all.
Us. It's what this country is made of. A helping hand, a shoulder to lean on. Different voices.
Hello.
One sacred bond. But right now, that bond is fraying. Where do we find common ground? How do we get back to us? The why fills the gaps and bridges our divides. Now, more than ever, the why needs your support. Because where there's a why, there's an us. For a better us, support your local why today.
Brent Stockstill has been Middle Tennessee's all-time leading passer in passing yards, touchdown passes, completions, 300-yard passing games. I could just go on and on.
Yeah, exactly. He needs no introduction. He's been arguably the greatest quarterback to ever don a blue Raider helmet. And for a while, he wasn't even planning to in the first place.
Reporter David Janes has more on Stockstill's journey from a high school dream to a college legend.
Siegel High, home of the Stars. Also home to MTSU star Brent Stockstill, who's remembered for one big game. Is playing in the semifinal game on a torn ACL and throwing for 387 yards.
Brent threw for 373 yards with 4 touchdowns and completing 23 of 35 pass attempts. Those are amazing stats, but sadly for Brent, Maryville came back and won 47-43. But Brent's performance is still
It's stuff that legends are made of.
If there was any possible way that I could get out there and play and help my team, then I was going to do that, and I was able to, and obviously we came up a little short, but just the competitor in you isn't going to let anything stop you. So no matter if it's an injury or what the circumstance is, you want to be out there playing.
After Brent's monster game, he had to make a transition from high school to college athletics. Now that Brent's going into his senior year at MT, what if he never signed here? For signing day, he decided to sign with Cincinnati, but later decided to go here and play alongside his father, Rick Stockstill. Brent has always wanted to play for his dad.
But when I came down to it, I feel like you can't pass up the opportunity to play for your dad. To share those experiences, both the good and the bad, I think I couldn't pass that up.
Yeah.
And I told him driving home, I said, Brent, this is a coach speaking, not your dad. I said, you're everything a coach wants to coach, from toughness, competitiveness, leadership. You're a good player, all that stuff. You're going to have a great career at Cincinnati. You know, and he looked at me and said, Dad, all I ever want to do is play for you. You know, so that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Brent has some incredible stats here at MT, being in the top 3 of passing yards and touchdowns thrown. There leads to one question: what hasn't Brent done? Well, he is 0-3 against our biggest rival in Western Kentucky.
I think, as a quarterback, you're only judged off your wins, and then especially when you're playing your rival. First year we got blown out up there, and they had a really good team, and then back-to-back triple overtime losses. So I take full responsibility for all those, and hopefully I can change the tide this year, because that means a lot.
The one thing about Brent that everyone knows, he's a great leader, and his teammates love playing for him.
He's a very energetic guy. He leads really good by example. I mean, he's an awesome player. Everybody sees what he does to get where he's at. And, it makes it easier on us knowing he's back there just kind of running things.
Brent's new and old coaches all know he's an excellent leader.
Work, guys, work, guys.
The good ones, most of them, 90% of them, have that ability to move everybody in the room and to make them better, and he certainly has that.
I think his leadership skills probably stick out as much as anything else.
For NSEN, I'm David James.
And Brent will play in his first conference game of his senior year against Florida Atlantic on Saturday night, and is hopefully going to help MT go 2-2.
You know, Jonas, in last year's game against Florida Atlantic, Brent Stockstill was not available to play due to an injury, and if you recall, it did not go well for the Blue Raiders.
Yeah, with all the talk going into this big matchup, let's take a look at what happened the last time these two teams met last season down in Boca Raton. And it wasn't too pretty, as the Denvid Singletary show was continued. Even last season, Florida Atlantic got off to a quick and early lead. These guys were the conference champions for a reason. Right here on the left side, gets through not 1, not 2, not 3, just goes through all of them. Goes through pay dirt. 7-0 early on. Florida Atlantic would get another one, and could you guess who it is? Devin Singletary up the middle, untouched pretty much. That makes it 14-3 in favor of the Owls. Going into the next one, it'd be tough for the Blue Raiders to try to respond, and especially at the goal line, it wouldn't get much easier. As again, for the third time, Singletary. You think this guy was the son of Mike Singletary or something with the kind of power he has up the middle. 21-6 now. Guys going off, 24-6. MT would try to get something going. Throwing it down, this is again not even Brent Stockstill. Gets it right here on the right side to Ty Lee, making it 24-13. Now this is 9:42 left in the third quarter, trying to get something going, any sort of momentum, but they just could not. I wonder who it is this time. Singletary up the middle, 31-13. It's insane how this guy can create offense just by himself. That would pretty much be the problem for MTSU, as that was the end of it.
Still to come, we're in high tide of Rutherford County football. See what happened in the top matchups of the week.
Also, the youth movements have been in effect for both soccer and volleyball. We've got their recent outcomes coming up on NSEN.
Sometimes, one moment changes everything. One song, one game, one adventure, one mission. For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. You can transform lives, one wish at a time. Support Make-A-Wish and help grant more life-changing wishes. Learn more at wish.org.
Everyone deserves a decent place to live.
Everyone.
Decent shelter is something we all need to thrive. When a future homeowner partners with Habitat for Humanity to build or improve a home,
Build.
they build a better future for themselves and their families.
For my family.
For my family.
For my family.
Para mi familia.
Your support empowers a family to help themselves.
Help.
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 Assisté.
Your support helps another family in your community or around the world achieve strength, stability, self-reliance.
Strength.
Strength. Fuerza.
With a little help, we all have the potential to stand on our own.
Potential.
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 Through shelter, we empower. Visit Habitat.org to provide help to families like these today.
Welcome back. This past Friday, we saw some of the top teams in high school in the state go head-to-head. And for more on those games, we've got reporters Trevor Aldridge and David Janes. Fellas?
All right, we're here at Ray Hughes Stadium on the campus of Oakland High School, where the Oakland Patriots have just defeated their bitter rivals, the Blackman Blaze, by a score of 24-14. It's just the first loss of the season for the Blaze. Meanwhile, the Patriots improved to 4-1 for the season. The rain held off during the game, but a downpour before it started led to slick and wet field conditions, and its impact on the game was obvious throughout. There were a number of penalties from both teams, especially in the second half. I was able to limit the production of the dynamic duo of Trey Knox and Adonis Ote from Blackman. Though Ote did find the corner on a long touchdown run out of the Wildcat formation early in the second half. Both schools will be away from home this next week, as Oakland will take on Warren County, while Blackman will be off to visit Coffee County Central. That'll do it for us this week from Ray Hughes Stadium. I'm Trevor Aldridge, NSEN.
This past Friday, the hometown Riverdale Chiefs hosted the Centennial Cougars out of Franklin, Tennessee. In a game marred by turnovers and late-game heroics, the Centennial Cougars were able to escape Tomahawk Stadium with a 37-34 victory. Riverdale struck first as junior running back Drew Smith walked into the end zone for a 12-yard run. Riverdale would strike again on their next drive as Drew Smith would Jerome Bettis his way into the end zone. The game was starting to look like a blowout for the Warriors until Centennial caused a safety, and after that safety, the Cougars completely turned the game around. Centennial in the next drive drove down the field and scored a touchdown on an 8-yard pass from quarterback Cannon Plowman to tight end Alex Wall. On their next drive, the Cougars' standout player and Austin Peay commit Jeriel Wilson would take a 73-yard run to the house. Centennial would cap off the second quarter with a field goal and go into the halftime 20-14. In the second half, the Cougars came out with the momentum they ended the first half with, as Trey Carlton would return the kickoff back 85 yards to give Centennial a 27-14 lead. Late in the fourth quarter, the game was full of turnovers. There were 4 turnovers in less than 5 minutes, and 3 of them belonged to Riverdale and 2 by running back Drew Smith. However, the biggest turnover of the game was an interception by cornerback Kevin Garrett Townsell Jr. of Centennial with 30 seconds left, which set up a game-winning 16-yard field goal by kicker Johnny Crouch with 1 second left. And now, coming up next on NSEN, we've got a lot to talk about with volleyball and especially soccer. They've got a big youth movement coming around, and we'll see those outcomes happening next. And of course,
there are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Come on, let's go.
Hey, hi, what's your name? You live around here? You're pretty. Where are you guys going? Where are you going? Where are you going?
Guess it's about time to get you fixed, sweetie.
Your pets will start getting noticed sooner than you think. Accidental litters lead to millions killed in shelters each year. Help prevent more. Fix at month 4.
I am so proud that I serve my country. I can't imagine not having Wounded Warrior Project in my life. We need Wounded Warrior Project to help us in our ongoing recovery. My family learned that they weren't in this by themselves. Wounded Warrior Project definitely saves lives. I am living proof that this organization works.
And we're back. This time, we're starting off with the Lady Raider volleyball team. They're obviously a work in progress, going 7-23 on this season last year. But they've got a young talent to work with.
They do, that's right. And our reporter Kendrick Williams got to see a good showcase of that. Kendrick?
The MTSU volleyball team drops to 4-9 on the season after losing in 3 sets to Conference USA rival WKU. The Blue Raiders took control early in the first with a 2-1 lead over the Lady Toppers with some kills from Bailey Mason and redshirt sophomore Aubrey Huddleston. WKU would respond with their own kills before Mason inked a service ace to tie the set at 4-all. The two teams would go back and forth to tie another 4 times before WKU ended up pulling away to take the first set 25-21. Mason patrolled the Blue Raider offense for the first frame, recording 4 kills. The second frame was a struggle for the Blue Raiders despite another 4 kills from Mason and 2 from Piona as they dropped the second set 25-14. Despite battling hard in the third and final set, the Blue Raiders dropped the third and final set 25-19. Up next, the Blue Raiders face off against LA Tech on Sunday at 1 p.m. As the Lady Toppers took off early, hitting That's all I have for your volleyball report this week. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Kendrick. We apologize for the technical difficulties there. Well, this week was supposed to be a big game for the Lady Raiders soccer team as they were ready to take on North Texas.
That's right, Jonas. The Mean Green have won 4 consecutive Conference USA championships, and we're looking to add on to their 7-game winning streak against the Blue Raiders.
That was until the rain came in. The game was canceled after the field was determined too wet and dangerous to play on. The game will potentially be rescheduled for this Thursday. That's yet to be determined, however. The Lady Raiders are in the middle of a great season where they are 6-2-1. Standouts include sophomore Peyton DePriest and freshman Hannah Tillett, who going into the North Texas game, Kaitlyn, was ranked top 8 nationally in points and goals per game. She's a standout.
Speaking of standouts, former MTSU standout Alicia Clark helped lead the team, the Seattle Storm, this season to the franchise's 3rd WNBA title. We got to talk with Lady Raiders head coach Rick Enzel about Clark and how she became a key role for the Storm.
She was like looking at a piece of art because you
there's not very many players that you ever come in contact with as a coach that can do what she did. And I'm not talking about her success. I'm talking about her willpower, her work ethic. Just a team player. I mean, everything she's ever done, she's more concerned about the people around her and about the people that play with her than she is about herself. Am I surprised that she was able to start and be such a big piece of that puzzle up there? Absolutely not. If you look at her Twitter feed, you look at her Facebook feed, she is more proud and happy for her teammates' success. And that goes back to that thing she's always kind of, she's genuine. There's nothing fake about Alicia Clark. Absolutely.
Obviously, it's so great to see a player like Alicia Clark, really from MTSU, go out and win a title like that. Great for the not only the school, but just for herself and everyone around that program. Speaking of programs, MTSU football, we just can't get enough of it. It's a very exciting conference matchup at home. What are you looking to see from Middle Tennessee to try to get against the Owls, who have obviously played some superior competition?
It's going to be tough. FAU did come out with the win last season, but we didn't have Brent Stockstill in. He's a big, big name in this game, so I think that his impact this Saturday is really going to have a big effect on how the game's going to be played.
Yeah, and not to gloat on Stockstill, but I do think it's a quarterback that should be drafted. I mean, that's just me. That's all I'm saying. But we will have to contain Devin Singletary. You've heard it once, you've heard it a million times. He is the player to watch for Florida Atlantic. He is a big-time impact. He can get through the offense, get through any holes necessary. How do you think they're going to stop him?
It's going to be tough. Like we saw in the replays earlier, he is just a powerhouse. So our defense is really going to have to work together to try to just be a brick wall and keep him from scoring.
Yeah, and with that, that's all the time we have for today. Along with Kaitlyn Runyon, I'm Jonas H. Not so bad for your first broadcast,
Not too bad. I'm excited to keep it going.
Like a Band-Aid. You just got to rip it off quick. Remember, check us out same time, same place next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Battles aren't won solely on the field. That's a common misconception. Battles are won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. In that place where promises are kept. Promises to oneself. Promises to one's community. Promises to one's country. In the heart of every Marine, you'll find a promise. A promise forever kept. A promise of battles won.
You may have heard about the new federal budget. Let's say this dollar represents the whole budget, 100 pennies. This penny here saves millions of lives. It prevents people from starving when famine hits, and it keeps kids like me in school instead of being forced to marry. It's the U.S. Foreign Assistance budget. All those poor people. I think they're worth the penny. Foreign assistance is worth the penny.